Hey YouTube land, just Jax here, and it is time for an update, I guess. I am now 1 year and 6 months on testosterone, and last time I did an update, I believe I was 1 year and 3 months, so not a lot has changed in a year, in 3 months' time. I just thought I'd share some experiences, as if you've been following my biggest thing, other than my voice, but the biggest things I wanted other without surgery for myself to feel like I could pass more, and passing means passing as male, um, was my voice to lower, which has tremendously. I do have update videos of that. I have pre-T through. The latest one was when I hit my 1 year and 6 month mark to the day, and my voice changed tremendously. It's still a little high, because if you notice when I inflect, I still inflect in a female way. And that's something that, not that specifically, but female way and male way of doing things is something that this video is kind of going to be about. Because when I do pass, and there's times when I still don't, working in retail, it's a hit or miss with different customers. But without someone saying sir or ma'am, I can tell by the way they talk to me how I pass or don't pass. And being perceived female most of my life, I just never really realized. Like, I kind of did here and there, because before testosterone, I would still pass to some people, before I spoke, mainly. So, but there were times that I did pass, and I kind of noticed that I was kind of talked to different, but it didn't click. And so it is very much on my mind now, because the way, especially when guys talk to me, I try to emulate that, and it's really hard because I'm not used to that. And a lot of people tell me not to, just to be myself. And so it's a really hard place to be at, to, I guess, manipulate, or I don't know if that's the right term that I'm looking for, but just to be in this in between space. And I guess I don't know exactly what to say about it. It's just, it's really different, and it's very interesting to my friends, to be able to experience life as two sexes in a way. That's not an experience a lot of people get, and it's it's very interesting. It really is. And guys can be kind of gross. Guys can be very inappropriate, I already knew that from being female and being perceived female. I when the Me Too movement started and women shared stories, there were stories that I had similar experiences with, especially being trans. And if you ever seen Boys Don't Cry, you're gonna immediately know my fears and worries. Especially when that movie came out, people thought I looked like the character. So my friends wouldn't let me go anywhere alone for a very long time. And when my friends would see the movie, they would call me and ask where I was and make sure I was home and I was safe. And that's still a fear in the back of my mind, not as bad as it was in the 90s, but it's still a fear that I have of something anywhere close to that. It was a fear, when I was perceived as lesbian, and it's a fear being trans, and it may always still be there in the back of my mind, especially when I wait to see how someone views me in a way, see if I pass or not. Because if I pass, then I get this weight lifted off my shoulders a little bit, and I kind of feel safe. And it's an interesting place to be at, but then it clicks over to me worrying that I'm going to say or do something in a mannerism that's going to make them question that. like I said, I still work retail, so I interact with possibly hundreds of people a day because the store I work at is kind of like a convenience. It's not a convenience store, but for the neighborhood it is. So I can see possibly hundreds of people do hundreds of transactions in a day. So it can be tiring to have to. I want to keep saying manipulate, and I don't know if that's the right terminology, right word that I want to use for what I'm thinking, but it's a really hard place to be at in my life and have to negate that hundreds of times a day in a shift. Like as soon as I start a transaction, I worry about my mannerisms, my voice, and until someone says ma'am or sir, and then I can get elated or I can get defeated. It's exhausting just thinking about it right now. Actually, my heart rate is going up. My chest is tightening. So I couldn't imagine being in this position within my transition without my medication and without having two therapists. And just so you know, when I say two therapists, one is what I call my talking therapist, and one is what I call my medicating therapist. And we do talk too, just not as in depth for 50 minutes or an hour like I do with my other therapist. And I also say those terms because I'm uneducated in what their actual terms are, which I should learn because my medicating therapist I've had for a year in October, and I've had my talking therapist for a year and a half. So I should get educated on what their technical titles are, and that's my bad. But they have helped me navigate this process a lot better than I would have on my own, and so I'm thankful to that. And it's just the phase that I'm at in my transition now. My body will continue to change. I will possibly bulk up even more. And if you haven't seen another video, just in my first year, I bulked up 2 inches. I grew out in my shoulders. I bulked up in my neck. I was wearing ties and a dress shirt to the job that I had at the time, which was a server in a restaurant and a host. And I had to quit because I didn't realize my neck had grew. And so I was getting a rash with my shirts, and my ties were, I keep my ties tied like you're not supposed to. And so my ties were, I was like, why is my tie in the wrong spot? And it was because it was going further around my neck. So it changed the length and everything. And I had to quit wearing those shirts buttoned because my neck had grown. And I didn't realize it till I did my 1 year measurements. And I haven't done my measurements since. I need to find someone to help me do that. And I would like to do it at the 1 year, 6 month mark, but it might not happen. I was doing it monthly, and not a lot had changed. And then all of a sudden it changed. Like within, it was really weird. Like the numbers were staying consistent, and going up just a smidge, like a quarter of an inch, and then all of a sudden it was like looking back and forth, it was 2 inches difference. My weight is now dropping a little bit. I do have a little bit of concern with my health, with my Crohn's, and so that and some other life changes could be the reasons for that. I don't think that I've grown because I shouldn't. My feet haven't bulked up per se, but a lot of my shoes are fitting different. But according to family members, that could happen. That happens to males and females, regardless as you age. So I'm uneducated in that information. So I would have to look into that because my first endocrinologist said I shouldn't grow feet and hands wise because my growth platelets had closed because I was out of puberty when I started testosterone. So the people that start hormones, I don't know about female hormones, but I do know that with testosterone hormones, when you start while you're still in your first puberty, they can cause you to grow feet, hands, and height. So I don't know if I've grown any upwise, but I don't think I have. But my body has grown. My arms are bulkier, especially my thighs and my shoulders and my neck. My arms are getting thicker because my friends comment on that, so I hadn't really noticed that. In preparation for a new tattoo, my tattoo artist took a photo of my arm, and he sent it back to me, and I didn't realize it was my own arm. So that's when I noticed it. And I sent the picture to another friend, and she said the same thing. She was like, until I saw your other tattoos, I didn't realize that was your arm. And so, but the biggest change is hair. There's hair everywhere. My entire legs, from all the way to where they connect at my hips down to my ankles, are just hair. Even my toes, even my big toes, not the entire thing, just at the knuckle. And that happened pretty quick. That was the quickest change other than my voice and just feeling stronger. For those that are just starting out and wondering what the first things, for me, I have had minimal bottom growth, which does happen to some guys. A lot of guys experience extreme growth extremely fast, and that was not the case for myself. Further than that, I will not talk about it. And hair at the bottom of my legs changed the first, and then after a couple months, within a week, I grew, the thigh hair had changed, because I was doing my shots weekly at the time, and it was all of a sudden, because I still am dysphoric, I don't check out my body. I do more now than I ever have before, but I still ignore my body as much as I can. And so it was just one of those things. I pulled down my pants to do my shot, and I was like, what the hell? Where did that come from? Within a week at one point. And that was definitely within the first 6 months, if not the first 3 months. And then it's just filling in more and more and more. And now my arm hair, you can't see really, but I've noticed a change in the color and the thickness on my arms. And it's not really noticeable to anybody else, but the way I ring people out at work, I kind of look at it, and so I've noticed recently that is changing, and I'm starting to get hair. Like I said, with this lighting, you cannot tell, but the hair is going up into my hand and onto my knuckles. It's still fair. It's not coarse or anything yet, but that's just an indication that it's changing, and it's like, it's starting... It was even more, now that I'm looking at it, it's more than the last time I looked. It just started over here in the hands, and now it's actually coming all the way across. So that's interesting. Like I said, I just noticed this, and it's coming. There's a couple of hairs up in here. You can't see it with this lighting, but that's the biggest change, is the hair coming up and over this. It's kind of like a diagonal way that it started. And then a little bit of the knuckle hair is longer and changing as well. And that's been... in the last 3 months that has changed. And like I said, I'm a year and 6 months on hormones. My beard is finally, I can't remember the last time. I don't shave my goatee very often. I did trim it recently. It was actually fairly long. But since it grows, it doesn't, at the time it wasn't growing in here. So it being so far back and scraggly, I didn't like the way it was looking. I still kind of wish I wouldn't have shaved it. I had a couple of hairs that I missed, and when I saw how long they were, I was like, oh, damn. But I do shave the sides fairly often, and it's been probably 2 weeks. So that's kind of significant for 2 weeks, but it's still not growing in. And underneath, I still have a big patch. This is the patchier side, and this side is getting close to filling in. Some of these hairs are in, but it's not enough to be thick enough to see. And there's some hairs up on my chin, not on my chin, my cheek, and some of them are gray. I have 2 gray ones over here for sure, and then there's at least 1 in here. So I was curious, because of my age, how that would go. So there's that information if you're wondering about that. And a couple of my arm hairs are gray now. So I don't know if they were new ones or what happened, like how that works. I do have a lot more gray up top. It's not becoming gray on the sides first like it does typically with men. That's probably going to change, I guess. I don't know if there's any research on that about going gray once you start testosterone, because women tend to go gray up top first and men tend to get noticeably on the sides first. So I don't know if that will change, or if just, like I said, I don't know a lot, and there's a lot of random things that don't get researched, and if they do, it's going to be a few years from now before you would know the information. So it's just interesting to see the changes that aren't talked about and aren't discussed as much. So that's why these videos get a little long, because I want to discuss just about everything that I notice so other people can notice too. I don't notice a difference in my eyebrows. I do notice a difference in my brow line and my hairline and my face overall. I have comparison videos here on the channel, and I have comparison pictures on my Instagram, and the difference in my face alone, it bulked up too. It a lot. And then there is one picture within my comparison video highlight within it's from April to June. It's a shirtless pic from like here up, and this area, my trap area, without using the gym as often, really bulked up. And that alone was just kind of crazy to me. I had gotten my testosterone date tattooed on me, so I was just taking pictures kind of for that, and because from my chest up, I look like a dude. And so that is one of the things that I've noticed and makes me happy. But I do still have a very large chest. I have 3 different binders that I rotate out. I bought 2 new ones from GC2B, and that's what my other one is. So the other one is more of a loose one, like when I have to take out the trash, have to go get the mail, or just for a quick trip somewhere. And that's also my my old one is also my workout binder. I wanted 2 new ones for work and social occasions, and then I wanted to kind of partially retire my stretched out one but use it at the gym so I wasn't as constricted. Still a very important binding tip: do not go to the gym in a brand new binder. No. Very bad idea. So lastly, the last 3 months is just navigating the male world, I guess. Learning the differences in my speech. Like I said in these videos, I try really hard to speak slower and to speak slower and lower. And that's still something that's hard for me when I get into my natural, I guess, cadence and how I talk, which is one of the things that misgenders me almost immediately, in my opinion, because I still don't understand how someone can look at me and see a woman, especially now. But I can't get in everybody's head, and I can't dwell on that whenever it happens. So once again, it's just what it is, and I'm learning to let it go as it happens, which is hard, but it's better than it would have been if I wasn't going to therapy and if I wasn't medicated. So there's that information. And even if it's not required by your doctor or your state, I still recommend anyone that can go to therapy to do it. It's life-changing. And I wanted it to make sure that I could process my transition, because I knew it was going to bring up a lot of things, and I needed it to help with my patience, because I knew this is going to be a long journey, and it's still going to be a long journey. I'm still going to keep changing as I transition. I will always be transitioning through life, and getting older is a big transition for me. Because of my Crohn's health, I wasn't sure what state I'd be in by this age. I will be 40 in June, and in some ways I didn't plan to be here. And there were times in my life I couldn't ever see myself being here, and did some destructive things that luckily so to be here 1 year and 6 months, I'm not taking for granted. 6 months on testosterone, to be nearly 40 and somewhat healthy, I'm not taking for granted. And I'm still living one day at a time, but learning to hope for more than one day at a time. So I'm still looking learning to look forward more than I had before. Um, so as one transitions physically, I will always be transitioning mentally and transitioning through my life, as I've already said. And that's about it. That's where I'm at in life and in my transition currently. And that's about all I have for today. It once again went long, but I'm able. I'm just in a grateful moment. So I'm grateful for a lot of things right now that I might have taken for granted before, and I'm trying not to. So there we go. There's the 1 year and 6 month update of life all around for Jax here. And for now, that's it. That's all I've got for you today.